Okay, welcome, Scarr, to our sound designer talks. It's a big honor and pleasure to have you here. I think that anybody who was ever using any decent synths, it's a high probability that some sounds of a certain Scarr are in the factory presets.
I tried to get as many jobs as I could back in those days.
So welcome. So you have done for the Quantum factory sounds, which I love and play again and again. And but let's start. How somebody becomes a sound designer? Have you born?
That goes back to my hippie days when I suddenly got into synthesizers and had my parents buy me an EMS Synthia AKS.
What?
Yeah.
That's your first synthesizer?
Yeah, but it was only £350.
Oh.
They were cheap back in those days. And I, of course, moved out into the country and with a whole load of other hippies, and we played synthesizers all day, and that's how I got into synths.
That's fascinating because most people, myself, start with the cheap Roland, cheap Yamaha,
that was
CS5,
cheap.
yes.
Back in the day, you had the choice. For that kind of price, you could get a Minimoog was a bit more expensive, but you could get an Odyssey for about the same price.
Yeah, but it's a classic synth. So many great pieces have been made with this piece of gear, right?
Yeah, but in those days, they were, in fact, the cheap options.
And it's also, I mean, how old were you at that time?
18, I think,
18.
19. Yeah.
So you get also a complex matrix-based system. So it's not just, you have two oscillators and a filter and two envelopes to go.
I think starting with modular is probably better than starting with any other method, because you have to learn how modules interact.
Okay, so you got the EMS Synthia AKS, right, with this little keyboard, and then what? Then
I met a girl from Germany and came over here and started being more of a keyboard player. So, bought the usual Fender Rhodes, Poly 6, and a Magnum Vicious Banana.
Ah, okay.
It was quite good. It was a cheap knockoff of an Oberheim. Yeah, I just went through digital synths until the analog came back in the form of the Access Virus.
Yes.
Virtual analog. And so I really got into that for several years.
Yes.
And through that I got to know Waldorf, the guys from Waldorf, which were at the time... Oh, what's his name?
The Q, the microwave.
Yeah, microwave time, Q. I did some sounds for the Q and the microwave, if I remember rightly. Wolfram and other people were around at the time.
Yeah.
And so I on and off, been doing things for Waldorf.
But what was your first, let's say, factory preset set?
That was for the Access Virus.
Okay.
So I just gave them that for free.
Yes.
In the hopes they would give me a job and give me an Access Virus B, which happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So have you ever done more sounds for the virus since then?
Yeah, I did altogether about 3 banks.
Yeah.
Over the years for the B, C, and TI.
Okay. So if you do a bank, or how do you approach? Let's say you have to do 128 or 64 sounds. You start with the first one, then next day you do 5 more. How does that go?
It's, I think, being playful with it. Experimenting, how far can I push this one feature until it breaks down and doesn't let me doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Maybe that's interesting, maybe not. Or just pushing the boundaries of each.
You play around with the parameters, or do you have some kind of a target sound in vision?
Rarely.
Okay.
Once something shows its true character, one patch, then I think, that's an interesting aspect. I'll carry on in that direction.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few branches come off oh, yeah, that sounds nice as a bass, or that sounds nice as a pad.
Yeah, I think some of you, not all, but a few of your sounds are inspired by real-world instruments. You know, there is this kind of muted trumpet-like thing you did for the Quantum.
Well, it's because you already have one already has an idea of a sound.
Yes.
That is fixed, or from childhood, maybe even a trumpet. So you can zielgerichtet. You can
target it.
Yeah, you have a target you can approach.
Yes, but how are you doing? I mean, if you have a muted trumpet, it's a very complex sound. You have all this transients going on, even more complex than a normal.
A muted trumpet is quite an easy.
You say so as a sound designer, but if you are, what are you using?
Bells are difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you're using, I think, virtual analog, maybe some wavetables for this, but you're not using samples or any kind of transients.
Yeah.
So that's how you approach this.
Muted trumpet, bandpass filter.
Yeah.
In parallel with normal filter, get the body of the instrument.
And then you tune the envelope.
Tune the bandpass until it gets that nice
transient at the
formant that's so prominent in the muted trumpet, and then a bit of noise at the beginning. You know.
Yes. So in terms of synthesis technology, what is your favorite go-to? Virtual analog, I would say.
Yeah, still virtual analog, but you know, things like Hive, this company.
Yeah, you can name it.
He Hive is based on virtual analog, but it's got wavetables in it as well, and even with the script language for the wavetable.
I remember you once said to me you're not so much in sampling, right? So
no, it's because until it's resampled, it's a very, very static thing that you have to add layers and switch between them and crossfade and all that. That's not my world.
So you're more like a painter using colors to build up
instead of a collage.
Yes, yeah. And if you're coming back to the sound set as a whole, have you some idea in mind? I have to do 128, so I have to do 16 bass, I have to do 5 effects, I want to do 20 pads, so how does that go?
I just program a whole load of sounds and then sort them out afterwards and throw those that don't fit.
So what's roughly the ratio? You take everything you did, or you just have
1 in 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you produce a lot of sounds.
A whole load of experiments.
And then you just select the best.
Yeah, and I make a lot of experiments and then find those that suit the Auftrag. What's that in English? Suit the job, yeah.
Yes.
Or can be made to suit the job. And no, actually, I don't throw the other ones away. I keep them all in a huge.
Where are the other ones?
I'm not telling you.
Like Prince record collector,
or Zappa
recording collection, yeah. So one day we may get break into your house.
I hope we get all the Zappa.
Yeah. And so, what is sound? It's a pressure wave.
It's a pressure wave that. How does it affect the psyche? Is the interesting question.
Yes.
What is sound is the simple physics, but why it has an emotional effect on us,
I don't
tell you.
So it's like a mushroom or a little drug. So it produces emotions and feelings and.
Yes, a little bit of mushrooms can help.
And it's, but still, I mean, if you make a factory bank on sounds, have you the kind of music in mind which might suit these sounds?
I'm always playing them.
So you have
I don't really tend to make one-note wonders. I'm always playing them and exploring what kind of genre or what kind of style of playing would suit it, and adjust the aftertouch and pitch bend range and laws and ranges accordingly.
So they come out of some little musical phrases you do for what they are kept in the dark.
Yeah. Or I hear something like, oh, that little bit of Stevie Wonder lick there is great. I'd like to play that. But I don't have the sound, so I program it.
Yeah, nice. So are you still making music yourself?
No. I'm having too much fun making sounds, to be honest.
Yeah.
I did have the ambition to revive kind of Berlin school, but with good melody. And I just never got around to it.
Yes. So if you make a sound, I see that your sounds are very elaborated. Everything is very precisely. There's nothing random.
I try to simplify everything as well. Anything that was part of the experimentation is no longer used. I make sure that it's cleaned up. Because otherwise, I won't understand this patch in future as easily.
Yes. And what I want to say is still your presets are very usable for the end user. They can take them as they are, but it's also nice to develop them further. They're very inviting. Maybe it's not in your interest doing that, George. I'm supposed to keep them as they are, or can I modify them? Or?
No, if people are inspired, that's fine.
Yes. Yeah. So I think they are very musical, so I can a little bit tweak it to my taste. And
do you play keyboards?
Yes, a little bit. And if you start a new sound, so are you going from in it or from something you already have?
Mostly in it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then you build up from. So what is your favorite in-it waveform? Sine wave, sawtooth.
Favorite in-it waveform?
No. Do you do your own in-it or just keep whatever the
if I were really starting with a blank slate in my mind, I would just have a sawtooth because it's got, it's got all the harmonics in it. But if I were thinking of bell sound, I'd certainly go for sine waves, ring modulators, and whatever, comb filters.
Yeah. So you start with a basic waveform, no filter applied.
No filter, yeah.
Yeah, and then you go from there. Are you going in, let's say, order of the signal chain? So you tweak the oscillators, then later you do the filter stuff, and then the envelopes, or you're jumping around?
Envelope comes a bit earlier.
Yes,
because it's important how, the first few milliseconds of the sound. And filter as late as possible.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And if any effects also at the very end?
Unless effects are integral part of the sound.
Yes.
Very important for the sound.
So which effect would be? I'm not talking about having a reverb just to make a room or something, or singing up something with a chorus. What would be a sound designer's use of an effect such that the effect becomes an integral part of the sound? What would that be?
Modulating the speed of a delay, maybe, so that you get a ding, 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 ding sound. Or, I can imagine having parallel modulation of a phaser and the pitch, or something like, parallels, where the effect has to be in time with the what you're playing.
Yeah.
Or follow it,
Are you doing a lot of arpeggios or step sequencer presets?
I find it fairly easy to put them on afterwards. So, I make something playable and then turn it into a sequence or an arpeggio afterwards, and then delete everything that I wouldn't, velocity, if that's no longer used, then get rid of that.
Yeah. So what's about the modulators, like a mod wheel? So you have a mod wheel?
I like to have at least mod wheel, pitch bend, aftertouch, and I do like ribbons.
Yes.
I bought myself a hydro synth, which is quite nice for that long ribbon in CS80 style.
Is there any kind of synthesis?
What I don't like is XY pads on glass.
Yes. Is there anything in terms of synthesis technology you don't like? Any kind of special filter type?
Not a big fan of granular, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
like bit crushers and stuff? It's not so in your
I used to
wheelhouse.
avoid them, but I've got because my frequency, top frequency is now down to, I don't know, 14 kilohertz or maybe even lower. It doesn't annoy me as much as it used to.
Yeah.
So I've learned to start using it effectively. Bit crushing.
How do you deal with the loss of high frequencies?
No problem. If you think of it like this, if you're down to 10 kilohertz, you've lost 1 octave at the top.
So who cares?
So, who cares?
Yeah.
And as I say, you have less annoyance from modern productions because, when they like to be full range, they hype the top end too much for me. It could be just because I'm old. I prefer the sound of vinyl over streaming and CD. And that.
What's about noise? Are you a big fan of using noise in your pitches? Yeah. So you always
it can
go
be very
from,
useful.
Yeah. Any white noise is fine, or you want to have
I'm not so particular. I'm not so keen on brown noise unless it's an explosion sound,
Yeah.
But white noise, especially for attacks and to somehow smoothen out pads, it's quite, if it's imperceptible there, it can make it sound.
You have many contacts with synthesizer companies. And is there anything you're missing in synthesizers you always wanted to have and nobody does it?
Until the Osmos came.
Yes.
There was the expression was missing.
Yes.
And they seem to have kind of halfway solved that. It's quite nice.
And so in terms of controllability.
And it's also a bit of a throwback to my early days with the Matrix programming.
Yes. You still have the AKS Synthi?
I wish I had two. I could have sold them now for, I don't know, what are they going for these days? Fortune.
Yes. Okay, then thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
this talk.
Thank you, Rolf.
And have a nice show.
Thank you, same to you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.